Wargaming's latest tank is here as part of this week's update, and today's video is covering everything that you need to know about this update that's come into World of Tanks, including this new tank, the Orthrus KV4 KTTS. We've got the new tanks reforged, we've got information on a couple of different things as well, in addition to this that will be coming up soon, and also some of the events and stuff that you can take advantage of, and of course the continued events that you can actually get a few free premium tanks. Now then, first things first, let's take a look at the new tank. Well, this new tank is a KV4 KTTS. I say it's a new tank, it's essentially a premium tank that we've already got in the game, except this version has the multi-turreted functionality that Wargaming have suggested here. Now, what does that mean for those of you who maybe haven't actually seen what these multi-turreted tanks are, if you've not actually played World of Tanks console in a while? Basically, multi-turreted tanks are effectively, in the name, you can fire multiple turrets at once. So it sounds cooler than it is, it's not really that great, and effectively what you can do is you can fire one, swap to the mini one, and then fire like pea shooter rounds that don't have any penetration really, and then you can fire your main gun and then keep firing this small one that's going to be on top here. Now then, in terms of how you can effectively utilise that, well, you can basically go for tracking people. I mean, Wargaming have essentially said this here. It's really good to keep people in place. But I would suggest actually going for the track with the main gun, then swapping to the small gun to perma-track them, and then use the normal gun to actually deal damage in that period after you've tracked them. For the first one, obviously, if you can track and pen them in the first shot, that's really great. But if you can't, then yeah, I would suggest just going for the tracking shot to begin with, and then punish them by locking down their tracks with the small gun and continually firing and penning them with the normal. Now then, in terms of whether the KV4 KTTS is actually going to be any good in the game, we will do a full in-game gameplay review, but I can give you a pretty solid opinion of this tank straight away. Now, the standard version, the KV4 KTTS, without the multi-turreted functionality, got a buff not that long ago, probably a couple months back, and that made it just only a little bit bad, as opposed to terribly bad, and that is because this tank relies upon the fact that it's supposed to have armor. Considering it's supposed to be like a side scraper, you can use it as more like you kind of peek around the corner, use it as a rear turreted tank, and then you can kind of get some nice angles and shoot people. And I mean, how often does that really come into impact on World of Tanks console? You're not really ever side scraping all too much, at least to the point where it's going to impact your game that much, whereby actually playing this tank and removing all of the other features of a tank like this from something else that's more mobile, that has a better gun, stuff like that, then yeah, you're kind of losing a lot for only a minuscule gain in a small scenario within World of Tanks. So I just don't think that it's really that worth the trade-off, but obviously it's a very novel and unique tank in its own regard. And with the new multi-turreted kind of ability, it might be pretty fun. And I can already tell you I will probably like this tank, albeit it's probably not a very good one competitive-wise, you know. Competitiveness is one of those things where it's like, just because a tank's not that good doesn't mean it can't be fun to play. Yeah, I just think in terms of if you really want to have like the top tier games, you're not going to be picking the KV4 KTTS or this Orthrus version of this tank. Now, in terms of the statistics of the vehicle, let's actually take a look at them. I can already tell you they're not amazing. One thing that is really good about this is actually the damage per minute isn't awful. You've also got pretty good penetration as a tier 8 premium. Of course, it is a tier 8 premium. It gets 50% silver bonus as standard, like, you know, all premium tanks at tier 8 get that. 35 kilometers an hour means that it's not terribly slow. It's no like T95, but even then it's pretty slow and sluggish, and you're not really going to be able to get anywhere anytime soon. View range is okay. Reverse speed's terrible, as you'd expect with a tank like this. Whole traverse of 24 degrees a second, and it says it's got a turret traverse, but you do only have plus 45 and minus 45 degree elevation, so effectively you can go in a 90 degree spread from where your turret is centrally. Because it is a non-turreted tank, you know, basically you've got 24 degrees a second. It will take you 18 seconds. Well, about 16 seconds to fully rotate this tank 360 degrees. Yeah, that is painfully slow, and that means that you're probably not going to be enjoying this if you want to come up against light tanks or mediums. That's going to make it really horrible on a map like you can see in the back here, a very open one. Westfield, you're going to be just absolutely caned by pretty much anyone, and so you do really want to play it like more of a tank destroyer in those matchups. That of which it kind of is anyway. But the kind of other statistics of the vehicle, accuracy is not actually amazing, considering that this is supposed to be like a an interesting version of the KV4, but as with Wargaming's usual, they've added an autoloader because if a tank isn't really selling that much or it's not that great, let's just add an autoloader and it apparently is much better. And that's where the 107mm, you have effectively 960 alpha in a clip, which means that this is one of the higher alpha damage tank destroyers / heavy tank hybrids that is currently in World of Tanks. Reload time 25 seconds. You can get that down obviously if you're using things like ventilation, if you're using some of the crew perks like rapid loading, I believe it is. You can't use advanced loader on an autoloader unfortunately, so you can't get that down by a further 10%, but you'll probably be looking at about 22-second reload to deal 960 damage. Obviously then you add in the intraclip reload of 2.5 seconds, which isn't awful, but it is no kind of Skoda or anything like that, so it's going to take a while to dish out that damage, and in particular it's going to take you 5 seconds since firing the first shell to fully pump out your damage, which, to be honest with you, this tank is probably more suited towards playing an autoloader since you don't get that many opportunities to side scrape and come up against opponents, so having the increased alpha in that regard is probably going to be more effective damage per minute than just having like a better reload speed. So yeah, I think that that's not that bad. In terms of kind of penetration, you're never really going to need to kind of have any higher rounds than your premium ones. It's 289mm a pen. That means that you can go through the front of even things like the Maus of the E100. If you're firing at like their weak points on the front of them, yeah, you're never really going to have a problem with any tank in the game if you know where the weak points are, obviously. And even if you don't, 289 is quite a lot to be able to go through if you take into account the fact that tier 10 medium tanks have about 258mm on their standard rounds, which is usually enough to go through most things at tier 10. But remember, this is a tier 8, so yeah, not going to be a problem. Secondary turret, you get an like basically a kind of 180 degree spread, 360 degree spread, I suppose, but you can basically look left and right like 180 degrees, so yeah, it's going to be a little bit more useful, less kind of limiting with the 45mm turret, so yeah, it's going to be an addition. And of course, I think the tank is going to be okay. It's definitely not going to be as bad as the KV4 KTTS standard version, and I guess that is where you're going to have to warrant spending the money. Do you want a slightly better KV4 KTTS by paying 10,500 gold right now? As of the release of this video, it is available in the game on July 5th. All the way through for until the 19th of July, so you've got 2 weeks to be able to pick this thing up, and I think it is an okay tank if you are interested in a bit more of a novel thing. It's not going to be super overpowered or anything, but yeah, let me know what you think of this tank if you've picked it up, and also what do you think of it having not picked it up and maybe coming up against it. What do you think of it? Would you actually purchase it? Would you get it? Let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you want the top bundle, 13,500 gold, which is unbelievably expensive. But yeah, make of it what you think. And of course, this will cost you about £30 if you want to buy it in the UK for full price, or at least for 10% savings. Now then, in addition, you also then get the multi-turret master challenge, where you can deal 50,000 or more damage in any number of battles while playing any of the following, which are of course the multi-turreted tanks, the M3 Lee, the Oni, the Orochi Oni, which was kind of the previous premium tank that they've released, the KV4 KTTS or the Orthrus KV4 KTTS. That will reward you with a confidential keycard guaranteeing you 250 gold, I think it is, and of course 5 4x Commander XP boosts and a multi-turret mastery medal. Wow, I mean, it's kind of interesting, but unfortunately medals don't really do anything. However, it would be cool if you could add them to your tank, maybe Wargaming. That might be a better use of the medals and actually make people want to get them, as opposed to just being something you have in the garage and you can have a look at them once in a while. Now then, moving on away from the KV4, we are looking at the Tanks Reforged event, which is leading on to the Leopard 1. Now, the Leopard 1, a really, really great vehicle for those of you that are used to playing more kind of high-speed vehicles. For those of you that are looking to get a medium tank that is very solid, it doesn't have armor, don't worry. This tank is not going to be able to bounce very many shots at all. But what it does offer you is it's a very flexible tank. You can get into loads of different positions. And with the buffs that this tank line has received, which come in the form of increased speed, decreased dispersion, which dispersion essentially means that you are going to be more accurate while doing various different activities. So for example, what Wargaming have said here, dispersion during movement, that means that when you're essentially moving your tracks or the bottom half of your tank, the chassis, you're going to be basically 1.5 times better than we were previously accuracy wise, which means it's gone from 0.14 to 0.08. The lower the value, the better, and that's what you want. And then also during rotation, that means that if you're turning left and right of your chassis, it's going to be less, even more. So that means that both when you're turning and when you're actually going forward, backward, you're going to be more accurate. When combined both together, you're going to be super accurate, or at least even more accurate. And it means that firing on the move with the Leopard 1 is going to get a hell of a lot better. And with the increased APCR speed, with the increased heat rounds and also the increased HE rounds, you're going to be able to hit the opponents far more consistently, which is also pretty good. They're not that fast, the rounds, to be honest. They've just kind of rounded them up to the nearest 100. And that means that, yeah, it could be a little bit more interesting to play. And I'm definitely going to be grinding my way towards the Leopard 1 as well. But on that kind of note, we then have the tier 9, which is the Leper PTA. This is a tank that I think gets severely underrated by a lot of players. This is a tank that I think is going to be super, super good after these buffs. And it is essentially what Wargaming have done is increase the kind of potential of the variety of different guns that you've got. Now, the Leopard PTA, they've also increased the damage from the Canona to improve the stock performance. Fully upgraded, this tank's performance is doing well, but it will benefit from the chassis dispersion improvement. So that's the accuracy buffs that we've talked about. These also get the buffs to dispersion during movement and rotation, and then that is carried through both of the stock chassis and also the kind of upgraded, fully upgraded chassis as well. And with this comes kind of buffs to the damage that you're going to be able to do per shot, going from 240 damage to 280. They've slightly increased the reload by approximately like 12% or something like that. But considering you've then gained like another percentage wise on top of that, you've gained like I think 20% more alpha, which is nice. So overall you're going to be dealing more damage per minute, I believe, off the top of my head calculations. But yeah, you can obviously work that out. It might even mean that they're basically 1-for-1. So you just get more alpha. And then, of course, the 105mm gets a reduction in aim time, better accuracy, and a reload going from 13 to 11 seconds. So it's a hell of a lot better. Looking forward to seeing what this one actually has. And then the second turret, the Canon 9cm, also gets the damage buff and the reload kind of buff as well. Well, reload nerf, if that makes sense. Yeah. Looking forward to seeing what the Leper PTA has. As we move further down, we've got the Indian Panzer, same sort of story. You've also got the 9cm getting buffed. You've had the 8.8cm removed, which was the terrible gun that was actually the tier 7's kind of stock gun, I believe, that they actually carried it up forward. But yeah, that's gone. And so the stock grind of the Indian Panzer should be a hell of a lot better. Dispersion and accuracy is better. Reload gets slightly higher, but the alpha damage goes up as well on the 9cm. Then moving down, the tier 7 medium, the VK302 or 3002D. This one is also getting the stock turret removed, so you will constantly have just the top turret on it, and you'll be able to actually have a better 105mm. Yeah, nothing too major, but they've basically removed the lower tier, like basically stock guns, so it's a little bit better to start off with. Now then, not only that, there's also been some main armament changes, which come in the form of the Object 704. They've removed the 152mm from this vehicle. They've also changed the Batchat 25T, so they've removed the 90mm from the Batchat 25T. They've got then a 100mm with 42 rounds going up to 54, so the ammo's been increased. And then on the 105mm, they've increased the ammo from 30 to 40, which was definitely a limiting factor of the Batchat 25T. So looking forward to seeing how this tank actually performs with the additional 2 clips worth of ammo. So yeah, going to be an interesting one to jump in and play, and of course get yourselves in these vehicles, test them out, see what you think, and of course leave them in the comment section down below. Or if you think that these buffs have gone too far or not far enough, also leave that down below as well. Now the Czech tier 8, the TVP VTU Terrible Concept medium tank has also got the stock guns removed, greatly increased reload, or well, decreased reload, so you're going to be able to fire faster. They've removed the stock gun. They've also then changed the 105 from 0.4 accuracy to 0.38, so you're going to be more accurate, and also the reload's gone down, which means you can fire faster and be more accurate, and that's the case for both the top gun and also the 105. So yeah, definitely a much needed improvement to the TVP VTU. Whether it is going to make this tank actually playable at all, I'm not entirely sure. Now then, further to this, kind of off topic with the vehicles that we're looking at, we've then got buffs to the Hollenhund and the Black Dog, or the, I'm not even going to butcher that, but the M4190 light tank, the German version of the 41 Walker Bulldog. They've basically got horsepower buffs, so they're going to be able to maintain the speed and also get up to top speed faster, and also be able to go up hills faster. And the power to 8 goes up as well. So yeah, some nice mobility buffs to this light tank and make them a little less sluggish comparatively to a lot of the other light tanks, since they were a bit more medium kind of weighty vehicles. Same with the M41B, the Brazilian Bulldog, same exact buff basically, and making it more in line. And then you've got the M48A2 round Panzer, which has got buffs to its penetration, so you can pen things easier. It's also got a buff to the damage, and they've actually given the damage just a flat increase. They've not reduced the reload speed, which is actually pretty nice, and the accuracy has also got better, so both the Ram Panzer and the Dread Dozer are going to be a hell of a lot more usable, and the Cupola's got a buff as well, so the turret Cupola on the M48 is much stronger, along with the Mantler as well. So looking forward to seeing how these perform, because I thought that the tank was a little bit boring to play, the Ram Panzer, considering its name. Nonetheless, the Panzer 58 Mutz also got buffed. It's the same 9cm Kanona, or Kanonen, kind of gun that these have all got. The 9cm basically got the increased alpha now. The accuracy's gone, the accuracy better. It's gone down from 0.36 to 0.34. The health's gone up as well. Dispersion's got better. So the 58 Mutz is going to be a little bit more playable. Same with the Wraith Panzer. You've got increased damage with the 9cm and increased accuracy as well. So yeah, some pretty sizable buffs to the German medium tanks and a couple of the heavies alongside as well. So looking forward to the German premiums and tech tree vehicles leading up to the Leopard 1. Now then, as with all of the on-track events, the Leopard 1, you will be getting a 50% silver discount between tiers 3 and tiers 6, and 30% silver discount between tiers 7 and 10, and a 25% more XP on every single battle you play in any of the vehicles on screen right here, leading up to the Leopard 1 itself. So really, really good buffs, really good events, and of course, yeah, looking forward to jumping in and playing these German vehicles and giving them a go for myself. Now then, not only that, we have a couple of other things that Wargaming are releasing with this update today. We've also got the tank of the month, which is the Patriot T26E5. You can pick it up for about £10, I think it is. A couple of extra little bits and bobs in there as well, so you can pick those up for an okay price, to be honest with you. You're not really going to get much better price for about £10. They may have upped the price, I don't know. So just check whether you think it's going to be worth it for you. Don't go spending like £40 on the Patriot. It's not worth it. If the Wargaming have upped the price, I think it's usually $9.99. So yeah, just check that it is that price before you buy it. And of course, check that you can afford it as well. Then the new monthly challenge, you can earn the Carnarvon Action X. So this is the tier 8 British premium tank that you can basically get. It's good. It's an okay tank. It's nothing too special. If you've played the Paladin, it's literally the exact same tank. It doesn't get an autoloader like the Eradicator, I think it's called. It just gets the standard. And it's actually okay. It's pretty good, and it can be played pretty well as well. The main armament is actually quite high DPM, so you can dish out a lot of damage and pin people in position and just farm their hit points down, but you don't want to be trading 1-for-1 with a lot of the Soviet tanks in the game, because they'll just take like double the hit points that you're dealing to them. So make sure that when you can hit them and they can hit you, that you can hit them multiple times in a row. In addition, the multi-turreted tank mastery, we talked about that earlier, Brothers in Arms and Platoon Up. So this is essentially an event that you can actually take part in yourself, where you can get an extra 5% XP and silver and commander XP, I think, when you platoon up in a platoon. On every single battle you play, 5% more silver and XP, which is good. And then the Platoon Up event is also a kind of an event where you have to get 100 wins, and then you get a top secret key card and 1 million silver or something like that. You can see it in the season tab in the game, and you can see it on the op tab in that. So yeah, or challenges, more challenges, and you can see it there. The tanks reforged, obviously, we've talked about the Star Festival. You can get a medal and a couple of 100,000 silver. Tanks for free XP event we covered in the previous video. So if you want to cover some of these in more detail, I will leave a link to the other news video which covers the specific event details in more depth, but this is kind of more of an overview for you guys, so the video is not a ton of time, but then you get the boot camp as well, which is essentially like a variety of different challenges that you do, and then you get a premium tank for actually fully unlocking it. And I think it is actually up here somewhere that it highlights what the boot camp will be for. It's the Hellcat 105, so this is a brilliant tier 6 American tank destroyer that's literally like pay to win. You pay more for the tank than the tech tree version, obviously, because you have to pay money for it, or at least you can get it free in this event. And then you pay money for the premium rounds, which are better in every single way. But there you go. When have Wargaming never done that before? The bundles here, the post-war Stepbrothers, you can pick up the T95E3 and the FV4201 Chieftain. Yeah, probably not worth it. I expect they'll be about like 15,000 gold or something. Wouldn't really go for it myself. Heavy Repeaters, T32A Prototype and the Somua, both pretty decent tanks, solid kind of auto-reloaders, or not auto-reloaders, auto-loaders. Yeah, really decent ones, French one and the American. And then you get the T92 plus LT432. LT432 is a really nice light tank, I love it, but the T92 not particularly great, and I'm sure many of you got it free as part of an earn challenge, so also keep in mind that it was free at one point as part of an earn challenge. And given Wargaming's current track record this month or this week or this entire year, to be honest, they've just been re-releasing premiums that were part of last year's event where you could pick up free premium tanks at tier 8, and the T92 was part of one of those, so I don't know whether, although it was more specific to be able to pick up that tank, because I think it was part of like a multi-stage event where you can like earn X amount of points and then you get the T92, but nonetheless it has been gifted, so just bear that in mind. Deals of the week, 20 lots of 1.5 times silver boosters and the Panzer 3K, nothing special there. And then the personal offers, you can get the T25 Pilot, which is okay, the Tiger 131, which is also pretty good, the Emil 1951, which is amazing as well. All of the personal offers are 50% off this week, as with all of the weeks, or every week. So yeah, not a bad price, I expect, if you want to pick up the Emil 1951 or the Tiger 131. T25 Pilot, probably not that great, but there you go. Make of that what you will. Of course, let me know what you think of all of these update news, what you think of the bundles, all of the tank of the months, and all of the events that are currently going on. And of course, about the new premium tank, the KV4 KTTS Orthrus version with the autoloader and with the multi-turreted functionality. Yeah, let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week if you don't catch any of the other videos, but be aware there will be some videos coming out on the new tanks and of course some of the season pass tanks as well coming very, very soon. Hopefully you join me there and I'll see you there. Goodbye.